Live from the Score Atlanta television studios in North Atlanta, this is Georgia High School Sports Daily, powered by IBEW Local 613.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Georgia High School Sports Daily. I am your host, Craig Sager. Today it is Monday. We've got a great show lined up for you. We will have our BSN weekend recap. We have swim and dive to catch up on the bass fishing state qualifier. The first one was able to get underway, and then we have our basketball region tournaments coming up. We will also have Tim Scott of the GHSA joining the show. We will have the Marist swim and dive team, and then Northview's new head coach, Coach Drayton. But before we come on, we're going to obviously start with our fast break headlines. We've got some breaking news to talk about as well. Should be a pretty exciting week. Najee, football season is officially over now. We just had signing day. But let's just have your overall thoughts on the game last night, and what do you think it means with this Chiefs dynasty? I mean, how bad was the loss? And you got to tell us what your dad said about the game.
For sure. Definitely surprising. I did take Philly to win. I did not expect them to, obviously beat the Chiefs in that manner. Very surprising. But they did it with their front four. Their front four was able to get the job done. Josh Sweat, obviously, was big in this game. He had 2 sacks. Nolan Smith was another one, obviously a standout player. Ended up playing at Calvary Day High School here in Georgia. He was, fantastic in that game as well. But I just thought Philly was able to control that line of scrimmage on the defensive side of the ball. And they forced some uncharacteristic mistakes from Mahomes, right? The pick six by Cooper DeJean, who's a rookie. You also have Nick Ball making a spectacular play over the middle of the field. But it's just surprising to see with the Chiefs offensive line that has 2 All-Pros, Joe Tooney, obviously, and several others, not be able to block that offensive or not be able to block that defensive front. So it really caught me by surprise to see that. And Jalen Hurts, that was the biggest question. Could he make the throws down the field? If they shut down Saquon, which the Chiefs did, can he make the throws? And he showed that he could. He made elite throws throughout the game. When it wasn't there, he ran the ball, got first downs, and you got to see, what he was able to do on that side of the ball. So I thought it was incredible. A.J. Brown had a pretty good game. Devontae Smith was great as well, and I thought they made the key plays they needed to. And as far as my dad, he basically was ecstatic, man, saying, can't believe we upended the Chiefs 3-peat. He was surprised as well. He was like, I thought we would win, but I didn't think in that fashion. But he was thoroughly impressed with how Jalen Hurts and the Eagles played.
Yeah, I mean, the Chiefs, their team that I always say never gets blown out. And then, I said some of my keys to the game, it's like, the Eagles want to have the ball last. But I guess you could win it that way and just dominate from start to finish. You're 100% right there. The lines of scrimmage, not only did they look superior, I felt like it looked like they just at the point of the attack, they were coming out and just hitting the Chiefs players first, like kind of stunning them and pushing them backwards. I felt like it was just the physicality, just engaging with the blocks and getting them off the ball. I mean, those guys came to play. They've got to feel really good about it, and that's one of the areas that, in the past, we talked about how talented the Eagles were, how talented that offense is. They've added some pieces, but, man, what they've done on the lines of scrimmage, they've got to feel really good about that future.
Exactly. And real quick to your point, everybody's young on the defense, right? Like Cooper DeJean, Quinyon Mitchell, Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith, Gardner Johnson. All these guys are young. They have to play some pieces, obviously. But to your point, Craig, the biggest standout is the line of scrimmage. Everyone talks about, throwing for 300-400 yards and stuff like that. They showed in that game the lines of scrimmage still matter. If you have an elite offensive line or you have a good offensive line and a good defensive line and they're stout, that you can win championships. And that's what they showed in that one.
Yeah, we'll get to some headlines, but when you have 10 first downs to 1, that's because both lines of scrimmage are doing their job. But let's stick on the Super Bowl real quick. We've got a graphic to pull up. These were the Georgia High School football players that played in last night's Super Bowl, some obvious familiar names. For the champion Eagles, you have Darius Slay, went to Brunswick High School, Nolan Smith from Calvary Day, and then for the Chiefs, Harrison Butker, McCole Hardman, Malik Herron, Hunter Razad, and Wanya Morris from Grayson. So there you have it, the guys representing the Peach State. All right, Najee, we're going to get into our fast break headlines. We got some breaking news, big-time transfer that you're going to talk about. Lead us off.
Yeah, man. So broke this morning at about 7:30 a.m. North Cobb Christian quarterback Teddy Jawar has officially transferred to North Cobb per multiple sources. This is official. He's already changed his Instagram bio. He's recently donned a 4-star quarterback, threw for 2,647 yards this past year, 34 touchdowns, and a 72% completion percentage. His family definitely wanted me to say this definitely about the North Cobb Christian program, so I do want to read this quote. It said, North Cobb Christian is super important to us. It was a big part of the healing for our family when Teddy's cousin passed away. The program will be a great opportunity for anyone looking to get on the field. The coaching is first class. So, I mean, there you have it, man. Officially, him transferring to North Cobb, and he joins a really good group. I've seen Brandon Anderson. He's a stout offensive lineman, 4-star. A lot of teams in play for him. Florida State right now, I heard, is the leader. But he's stout. You got still Ingram coming in now, obviously from last year, 2026. And you got this running back that's special, Zachary Bellew. Hayden has wrote about him numerous of times, and I got a chance to see him, and he's a super good running back. So the whole thing with this, Craig, they have another elite signal caller at North Cobb. Look at Malachi Singleton, Arkansas, Nick Grimstead last year, and now you get of the elite with Teddy Jawar. That's how good he is, and you get a special quarterback with Coach Tyler Queen and Coach, obviously, Shane Queen, and they're going to be dangerous next year.
Yeah, not only special, but, I mean, he leaves North Cobb Christian as really the guy that led that offense and led them to the first ever region title, the big win over Savannah Christian this year. Obviously, he's not going to have to move across the county. It's right there. But adding him in a 6A program now, we've talked about this new class of quarterbacks after Juju, Antoine Hill, Luke Nickel. I mean, Teddy's the guy that many think is the best of the state. And, I mean, certainly that's the biggest transfer news we've had this offseason for sure.
Yeah, 100%. To your point, real quick, Craig, before we get to other headlines, it's huge. Think about it. You're making the jump from private, which they did good, beat Savannah Christian this past year, you know, an elite team with LaDamian Guyan and Elijah Griffin, who's now at Georgia, Guyan's at Benedictine. And now you make the jump to 6A. So then when these coaches come and they call, even though he has 14 offers, and they say, oh, can he play at an elite level? Can he play against elite competition? Imagine him going and doing some damage in the 6A now, playing the best of the best, the Graysons in there, the Douglas Counties of the world. Walton is going to be really good this year. I don't care what anybody says. They're going to be a contender. So, really, I'm going to be honest. I don't know what Aji's thinking as far as his televised games. I would definitely televise North Cobb and Walton this year.
Yes.
That game is off the charts when you look at quarterback play and elite level talent on both sides.
Yeah, I can't wait to see that. And then it's going to just add some pressure, I feel like, to himself that he can obviously handle. But going to this program, having to prove himself again, becoming that leader, it's a big-time move. All right, another breaking story. Max has it up at scoreatl.com. Prince Avenue Christian hires John Rick to replace Vandergrift as football coach. Another big story impacting some of the best teams in the private division. Coach Vandergrift obviously led them to the finals this year. They came up short to Hebron Christian. They have a ton of talent, obviously returning. And Coach John Rick, that will be his first head coaching job, and the future's very bright for him. So a big breaking news right there. Go to scoreatl.com. You can read more about it right there. But let's go ahead and get into our fast break headlines. I'll lead it off. We will actually have Coach Drayton joining the show later on, but real quick, he leaves McNair to take the job at Northview. This is a big hire. Northview is coming off a 1-9 campaign program that has had some success in recent seasons, but has also struggled in the last four, just 4-36 overall. Coach Drayton, though, did a great job at McNair. He was able to snap a 24-game losing streak when he was there and snapped a 17-year playoff drought. So similar situation where he was able to get the McNair program back into the win column. Now he will look to do the same at Northview. All right, headline number 2, the Hillgrove girls claim the Region 3 6A championship for the regular season. We talked about their big matchup that they had to close the season against Campbell, which was 22-2 heading into that matchup. Hillgrove was able to get the win, 54-47, a huge win at the end of the season for the Hawks. They outscored Campbell 14-4 to end the third quarter and stunned them. They are now 13-1 in that region, 18-7 overall. And obviously, Najee will have those final girls rankings up at scoreatl.com. I'll do one more headline real quick. We'll get into our swimming later, but the Lassiter girls, this is the big result from the weekend, won a 6th straight swimming championship. A strong finish by Lassiter in Class 5A helped the Trojans score their 11th state title in 20 years. Pope finished second with 325 points. Lassiter had 411, and then Johns Creek was third. Quote real quick from their head coach, we're super excited. We had some great relays in most events, and we had someone at the top in nearly all of them. It was a great team effort all around. The Trojans started to pull away after Katie Bradley won the 500 freestyle. Finley Jolins won the 100-meter backstroke. Lofton took the 100-meter breaststroke, and then they closed the meet with another victory in the 400 freestyle relay. That was Jones, Jolins, Bradley, and then Maggie Shagnesi in that relay. All right. Headline 4, we're running out of time in this segment. Let's hit one more. The Brookwood boys dominate the field en route to the Class 6A state title. They denied Walton a 3rd straight state title. Big win for the Broncos, 409 total points, beating Walton by a whopping 115.5. So that title is back in Gwinnett County. North Gwinnett, we've highlighted their program as well this season. They finished a solid 3rd with 281 points, followed by South Forsyth with 277.5.
All right, Craig, last headline. Calvary Day girls are peaking as the playoffs loom. They've been spectacular so far. They struggled early on in the season, losing their first 3 of their 4 games and first 6. But the tide has turned for Calvary Day. They're now 12-8. They won 6 of the last 7 games while posting a 10-0 mark in Region 3 3A play. Calvary Day is ranked number 8 among Class A through 3A teams, obviously by the rankings. Calvary Day beat Jenkins 51-45 on Tuesday, February 4th, in a game that wrapped up the region's regular season title for the Cavs. A trio of veteran seniors have been leading the way in Destiny Goodine, Zora Giger, and obviously Bree Jones. Giger's averaging 15.8 points per game and 7.7 rebounds. So obviously their coach in quote said, "We're always trying to set up a tough schedule so the girls are battle tested when the playoffs come around," said Jackson, who's an assistant under longtime head coach Jackie Hamilton for 8 seasons. And it feels like that is a way for them to kind of measure where they're at and continue to improve.
Yep, and they need that tough schedule because once they get in that private bracket, it's going to be the real deal. All right, well, that wraps up segment number 1. We'll be back on the other side with our BSN weekend recap.
Great teams are committed, focused on the details, and work hard to be their best. From practice to games, right down to their gear. Your field is a critical part of the game that allows your athletes to showcase their athletic abilities. Sports Turf is committed to bringing your team innovative sports surfaces with unparalleled performance. You bring the vision. Our team brings it to life.
This makes my dad proud. He went through his whole career as an employee. Now I'm the employer, something he didn't achieve.
We are signatory to IBEW and do IBEW people wherever we go that we feel like they are faster and better than any of our competition.
The advantages of being a signatory contractor is you're trained employees. You have unlimited manpower. It allows me to bid on jobs that I ordinarily would not go after.
We celebrate the athletes, the buzzer beaters, the record breakers, the wins. Now, it's time to celebrate the people behind it all. The advice givers, the community shapers, the game changers, the life changers. It's time to celebrate our coaches. Join all of us at BSN Sports and show your coach some love by sharing their story with #ThankYouCoach.
Man, you know how to do this? Man, I don't even know. I was flipping burgers last week.
Violation, unsportsmanlike conduct, impersonating a craftsman.
Skilled trade unions are well-trained career pros, not part-timers. Construction is a rewarding and lucrative career with the advancement potential, but you have to do it the right way with the right training. Learn how you can be a pro. Find your career at GeorgiaConstructionCareers.com.
Georgia High School Sports Daily is brought to you by the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local 613. Electrify your career.
All right, welcome back to the Georgia High School Sports Daily. Right now we got Max Poborski And we're going to do our BSN weekend recap. Najee is raising his hand, though. He's still on the stream. What you got for us, Najee?
All right, some big news that broke about 30 minutes ago. I want y'all to hear this. Yeah, we know this program very well. You know this program really well, Craig. Cass, their offensive lineman just announced his top 5 school, Barry McWhorter. That includes Bama, Florida, Michigan, Clemson, and South Carolina. He's set to make a decision on February 28th. So I just wanted to put that out there.
February 28th. All right, so that is coming up in about 2 weeks. So That is huge. And you know what? Cass is a very intriguing story for next season. We know what happened this year with Brody getting injured. Still made a solid run, but I feel like people are sleeping on them to be a contender this upcoming season.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, the big question: how good will the McWhorter cousins be? Right? Brody's coming back from an injury. He's set to throw in New Orleans at the next Under Armour camp. Bear looked really good yesterday. If he was in person, he was a stud. Won, I think, UA Next MVP. He's gotten better and better and better. And then obviously got a great coach in Steve Gates. So that should be a program that should be right back there to bring a lot of their talent back and some new pieces as well.
Yeah, and we know that they can obviously handle adversity really well. We saw what they did as the number 4 seed a few years ago. The injuries last year, but then a healthy team. Watch out for the Colonels this year. All right, well, let's go ahead and get to our BSN weekend recap. I want to thank them for sponsoring this segment every Monday. Let's start with the swimming, Max. That was obviously the state championships were Thursday. We had the diving first. Looks like Brookwood was the team that was able to sweep a pretty dominant effort on the boys' side and girls, and then the Laster girls were able to win their 6th straight. What else kind of stood out on what programs are able to take that?
Well, like you said, Craig, it's just how dominant that Brookwood swim team was. I mean, for the boys, they placed first in the 200-yard medley relay, the 200-yard free relay, and also had winners in the 200-yard individual medley with William Stanton winning. And then the 500-yard freestyle with Michael Stanton, and then William Stanton again in the 100-yard backstroke. And then the girls had winners in the 50-yard free, the 100-yard backstroke, and second place in the 400-yard relay.
Yeah, and then I saw a write-up. Obviously, we have ours on scoreatl.com, but they talked to Walton's coach afterwards because the boys were going for a 3rd straight, and they have a general idea of how things are going to play out before. They look at the prelim times, and he was just open. He said, listen, Brookwood pretty much overperformed in every single event they raced. He said they just had a great showing and ended up dominating, kind of running away with it. So that's a big win for them to knock off a 2-time defending champ, but to do it in such a dominant fashion and kind of exceed all those expectations. You also had, looks like, in Class 5A, you had Johns Creek on the boys' side getting the win, and then we already mentioned the Laster girls. And then in 4A, the Northview boys were able to beat Westminster and Marist. So that's a huge win for them, knocking out those private school powerhouses.
Yeah, so on Thursday, actually, we had 2 first-time state champions in the Northview boys and the Lovett girls. The Lovett boys had first-place finishes in the 200-yard individual medley and the 100-yard butterfly. And they also placed first in the 400-yard relay as well as the 200-yard medley relay. The Lovett girls placed first in the 400-yard free relay. Decker Stedman of the Lovett girls swim team placed first in the 500-yard freestyle. And they placed second in the 200-yard medley relay as well.
Absolutely. And then, Najee, you've been covering some of the swimming also. What kind of excites you just about that sport and just seeing first-time champions like Northview and seeing some of these new programs kind of come to the scene, perform well, and be able to handle that as they're trying to establish their programs?
I think that's the cool part. I think you just mentioned it. Just new teams being able to come to the fray. We've seen obviously other teams that have dominated the sport over the last few years in Westminster. But then we see in Brookwood obviously had a great county tournament, ended up winning, and then doing it again on the state stage, also winning 6A boys and 6A girls. So I think it's cool to see, like, every year you're going to have a new champion that kind of comes to the fray in whichever classification it is. And then at the same time, you have these very dominant programs that are, in there every single year and always competing at a high-end level. And just love the culmination of talent. Like, swimming is a tough sport. Swimming is not easy, and you have to prepare a lot. And it's really no one talks about it, but it's very mental sport as well because you could have not good performances and have to come back, be right back there. Let's say you don't perform well in the 100 individual medley, you might have the 100 freestyle, and you have to be ready to go for that, even though you might have placed poorly, like fourth or fifth or even worse than that in the event, but be ready 20, 30 minutes later. So I love the sport. I feel like it can be a mental drain for some, but I feel like it really challenges you mentally and it really helps you in life as well. It doesn't get talked about enough.
Yeah, and before I throw it to Max, I think it also shows how important that Gwinnett County Championship was right before the big event for Brookwood to go out there, have that strong show, and you can tell the confidence was there.
Just something I wanted to add it on. This was the first year in 7 seasons that Wesleyan or Westminster did not take home a state championship in swimming.
That is a great stat right there. So, yeah, in Class 4A, it would have been Northview was able to knock them off, and then that would have been the boys also. GAC was able to top them. That was actually one of the closest classifications in the private. GAC had 286 points to Wesleyan's 263. So you know that one came down to the final event, which I believe was that 400 medley. Very exciting to know that it's all going to come down to that last race, just knowing that those guys have to place at the top. All right, well, we've got some other storylines from the weekend. Let's go to Atkinson County. Pretty incredible. We've been highlighting some of these milestones. Only a sophomore, but Jakari Northcutt reaches 1,000 career points, just a sophomore. She's on a blazing pace to potentially reach that 2,000 career point total. Pretty incredible for underclassmen to already get in that company.
Yeah, that's elite, Craig. I mean, 1,000 points, you don't see that losing to junior, even senior years for a lot of prospects. But that just means she's a big part of their offense moving forward. They're still learning and developing pieces around her, but she's been the go-to girl, I guess you could say, this year for them. And she's special. She could score at all 3 levels. She could finish around the basket. She could stretch the defense with a 3-point shot. And not talked about enough, but she's been spectacular this year.
Yeah, and I mean, if you do the math, I mean, it's not going to be exact, but you got about 30 games in a season. So, I mean, as a freshman, sophomore, she's at like 15, 16 points a game, and you have to do it on a consistent level, exactly, to reach it at that point. So watch out for her. Congratulations. See what she's able to do in the playoffs. All right, let's get to the bass fishing real quick. 258 boats were able to compete in the first qualifier that was at Lake Oconee over the weekend. Big congrats to the Coffee High School Trojan Bass team. That was Jake Grantham and Hoyt English. The 2 fishermen, along with their boat captain, Ashley Bogan, landed a total of 17 pounds, 10 ounces of fish to take first place. The qualifier number 2 will be held at Lake Oconee. Coffee had 6 2-man teams in the tournament. Grantham and English outfished 258 boats to win. The victory earned them a berth into the 2025 Bass Fishing Tournament, which will be at Lake Lanier in May. We talked about, can any of these teams come close to that 20-pound mark, which I think it's only been accomplished probably a handful of times since the sport was introduced. So that's a big accomplishment for them, getting over 17 pounds in that first qualifier.
Yeah, exactly. And they still got a couple more meets to go. We know the first meet obviously didn't happen because of inclement weather, but like you said, at 17, you're not too far off of that mark. And I think they continue to, get better at it. I think, these teams definitely have shot at getting close to that target when the season is done at state championships.
Yep, and then before we hit this next segment, I know we'll be busy with a lot of coverage at scoreatail.com. This week, though, it's important. We got some new sports getting underway. We got lacrosse, baseball coming out. A big matchup I want to preview real quick, Najee. I think it's coming up on Valentine's Day. Buford against Roswell lacrosse. It's a pretty big matchup to start things off.
Yeah, you don't get much bigger than that. I mean, Buford's absolutely loaded. I have my lacrosse recruiting blog coming out later. They got a kid that is committed, I believe, to Ohio State, their attacker. But Buford, think about this. They won their first title last year. We remember that region, right, Craig, with that Buford, Lambert, West Forsyth, right? It's going to be different this year because it's different divisions now. But Buford, Roswell's trying to go for a 3-peat this year. They're equally as loaded. They lose a lot of guys, but a lot of young guys are going to have to step up for them. So that's going to be a good test for both teams to see where they are. 2 perennial contenders here in the state of Georgia.
Yep, cannot wait for that. Well, that concludes it for this segment. We'll be back on the other side. Stay tuned. All right. Hey, Tim, can you tilt your screen down a little bit before we get started?
I got you, buddy. How about that?
All right, it's perfect. All right, we'll be back momentarily.
Georgia High School Sports Daily is presented by GeorgiaConstructionCareers.com. Transform your future today. And by Smart Local 85. Sheet metal is a smart move.
Welcome back to the Georgia High School Sports Daily. Right now, we will be joined by the GHSA's Executive Director, Tim Scott, to catch up with him like we do on every Monday's show. Tim, thank you so much for joining us. How's it going?
Hey, man, doing great. How are y'all?
Doing well. So we got Max riding shotgun with me.
Hey, Max.
How you doing, Mr. Scott?
Want to ask you about the bass fishing first. Looks like the weather couldn't have been better this week around.
It was amazing. We had about 243 boats in the competition, and they did a great job. It was a great day, and they're super excited. Got another one coming up next weekend. I'm gonna tell you, bass fishing's growing, man. There's a lot of people interested, and great thing about bass fishing is a number of parents and community members that are involved as well. So there's a lot of support.
And Dr. Scott, for those at home who haven't been to a bass fishing event such as this one, what's that environment like while they're out at the lake?
Well, once they get on the lake, it's kind of calm. We're just waiting on them to come back in. But starting around 2 o'clock, they get to come back in and weigh the fish. And it kind of gets exciting then because, you're looking at, the weight of each one. And, of course, this year, I think a little over 17 pounds. I think there were 5 or 6 fish in that won the competition. So it's at that time it gets exciting.
That's right. And then, obviously, this qualifier came after the first one was canceled. So were there kind of more boats? Was this one of the biggest qualifiers that you guys have ever had?
No, I think they'll continue to get bigger. That's about the average size, give or take a few boats, but we're hoping they'll grow throughout the year. I know last year we ended up with over 250 boats at a competition. So it's most of those folks are pretty steady and will be there.
We know Dr. Hines is in charge of bass fishing this year. What were his takeaways just from this first event, and what's he looking forward to in the weeks ahead?
He said it was exciting. Of course, we were talking this morning, and getting the boats out on the lake takes about an hour, because each one's numbered. That way you can keep up with which boats have come in, which ones haven't. But it's pretty exciting. He was excited to see all the parents and community members that were there supporting all our students as they had their first competition this year.
And then, Dr. Scott, we were talking about swimming earlier. When I think of that event, what stands out is obviously the facilities at Georgia Tech. You can't beat that no matter where you go in the country. Talk just more about the facilities that are at the GHSA's disposal in kind of all these different sports. You got the Rome Tennis Center has stepped up, gymnastics. How first class do you feel like Georgia's options are when it comes to staging these championships?
Well, listen, one of the things that we want to do is we want to make sure we provide our young people with the best experience possible, and being able to play in a place like Mercedes-Benz Stadium or having a swim meet at Georgia Tech in what was an Olympic facility, and really, really nice facility, or the basketball, not just the finals there at the Macon Coliseum, but the semifinals. And we visited another facility that's going to open up soon in Clayton County that they're building and working on now, that they expect to open up in September. So we have a lot of really nice facilities, nicest tennis facilities there are, golf courses, and it's a credit to our state for what they do and what they provide for young people. And that's not just us. I mean, that's community people and just the public and the people in our state that care about activities and not just sports. You know, the one act plays or the drama things that we do, the literary stuff we do, really great facilities that gets to host all of it.
Yep. The new esports facilities also, yeah, 100%.
Awesome stuff, man. And of course, it was a big weekend with swimming. You know, I guess Brookwood was a big winner there, winning both boys and girls. But
yes, sir. And Dr. Scott, talking about bass fishing once again, how have you seen that sport really take off in your first year as executive director?
Well, it just way more interest than I realized coming from the outside in. And I came from a district that we did not have any bass fishing there. But once I've gotten here, the parents, I've talked to several parents that have children in the sport, and it's really, really big and it's growing. It's expanding each and every year, and we expect it to continue to grow. And we want to make sure that we continue to provide great places where we can go have the tournaments and provide the excitement for the young people.
And then, Dr. Scott, I couldn't help but notice a commercial that ran at the Super Bowl last night on flag football, and it was saying, let's make flag football a varsity sport in all 50 states. Obviously, Georgia is leading the way. I mean, how much pride do you have to see that effort out there, but also know Georgia's right now in that position to lead that effort?
Oh, and we absolutely think that it's really great. But again, we couldn't do it with our partners. You know, the Arthur Blank Family Foundation and the Falcons have done a great job helping us with that. And I'm sure, you know, they're helping other states as well. We have grown, I know, since the end of football season, and we're doing the little campaign with the Falcons. Probably 10 or 12 schools have already signed up to add flag football teams next year. So, and that's going to continue to grow as we move through the spring.
That's huge, yeah. And obviously that grant program has helped that. I think teams still have till, I think, mid-March to make that. Yeah, I think it's March 14th. You mentioned spring sports gearing up. Obviously, those seasons are just getting started. How excited are you to see sports like lacrosse, baseball kick their seasons off?
And it'll be good. Today's the first pitch for baseball, you know, as far as the regular season starts. So really excited. The year goes by fast. It's hard to believe that we're wrapping up wrestling this weekend, and then a couple of weeks after that, we'll be down in Macon for the basketball state championships, and we're well into all our spring sports and moving along with those.
And would you say that's pretty much the next big thing for you guys in terms of the big championships, going to be preparing for that basketball marathon?
Yes, sir. That'll be, I believe we start March the 5th, I believe. It's the 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th, I believe.
Gotcha. And then anything else, any updates on those, the meetings we've talked about, or when's the next big discussion you guys are going to have?
Well, we'll have just a regular reclass meeting on February 25th at 10 o'clock here at the office. The executive committee meeting is in April, as it normally is. And we're still talking competitive balance and just trying to see where that leads us. And we've had some coaches that want to share some other proposals and talk about some things. And so we'll have those discussions and see where they lead us.
Absolutely. And then we mentioned some of the growth in sports like bass fishing. Do you feel like what you've noticed in terms of the overall participation numbers that, I mean, every sport seems to be on that positive path of growth?
I think we're doing really well right now. Of course, we have over 460,000 athletes submitted for eligibility. That's right where it was last year. So the number that have submitted eligibility is about the same. But I know we're growing. Flag football has grown about 170%. We're talking to Ernie this morning over the last couple of years. I mean, that's great growth. Bass fishing is growing. So there are things that are growing. The most difficult thing to do is find a time to have it, because we offer so many sports and many schools that only have a certain number of athletes. So making sure that, you know, we provide everything, we do it where we can be consistent with the level of competition that we have and facilities that we're able to share with our young people.
Absolutely. Well, Tim, thank you so much for joining us. You guys are doing a great job. We will see you probably next Monday. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir. Thank y'all. Have a great week.
All right. Stay tuned. We'll be back on the other side to catch up with the Marist swim team.
We celebrate the athletes, the buzzer beaters, the record breakers, the wins. Now, it's time to celebrate the people behind it all. The advice givers, the community shapers, the game changers, the life changers. It's time to celebrate our coaches. Join all of us at BSN Sports and show your coach some love by sharing their story with #ThankYouCoach.
Dang, where you get this car?
You need to join the union.
The union?
Absolutely. You can get 10 of these.
Union construction workers earn the highest wages with the best benefits and the most protection in the construction industry. Find your career in construction. Go to GeorgiaConstructionCareers.com and start your future today.
A journeyman with Local 85, when you turn out, you can be hitting six figures.
Hey, I have your back, you have my back. We're gonna do this together. We're one for all for one.
College just wasn't for me. Let's look into actual career jobs that wouldn't take college, where I wouldn't, lose money and all that. Instead of losing a lot more money at the end, why not make money and make more money at the end?
What happens after you graduate? Will you go to the next level? Will people have your back in the heat of the battle? Will you still train like a champion in pursuit of greatness? You will when you become an IBEW electrician. Join our team. Visit IBEW613.org.
All right, welcome back to the Georgia High School Sports Daily. Right now, we will be joined by Marist head coach Chris Marshall, and it looks like the state champion Marist Eagles swim team. Thank you so much for joining us. Congrats on the championship. Coach,
Thank you.
Tell us who we have here on the show today.
I'm Allie Donker. I'm Erin Riley. I'm Abby Jacob. I'm Lauren Pauly. I'm Callan Wise. And I'm Angela Kumabor.
All right.
And Marshall.
Well, thank you so much. So this is your first state title in a while, but Marist obviously has had great success in swimming over the years. What was different kind of about this year's team, and when did you guys get the sense that you guys would be able to take the title this year?
We kind of knew we were going to be really dominant, and I think that just brought a lot of energy. And I think it showed in the results that we definitely wanted to win it and wanted to go out with a bang.
I also think last 2 years we've been runner-up in 6A to Lassiter, so we knew we had a good team that we were building a nucleus around, and then we had some good freshman girls that joined up, both swimming and diving, and it just kind of everybody did their part this year.
And then, Coach, you mentioned just the overall performance. You guys were able to outscore the field by quite a lot of points. I think it was close to 200. Was it just kind of a state meet where you guys just knew it was working for you and you had that confidence early on and the wins just kept racking up? Or when did you guys know that you had enough points to take the title?
I think Wednesday night, once we saw how many swims we had in the top heat and how many swims we had in the bottom heat, we kind of had a good sense that that Thursday, if we just performed the same we performed on Wednesday, we'd be fine.
And then walk us through this season, maybe any big meets that you guys had or key qualifying events where you guys were able to prepare.
We always kind of targeted a couple meets in December. It's kind of mid-season for us. We host a big invitational, and that's where we try to really knock out all of our state cuts at that meet. So that we can spend the next month kind of focusing on preparing for state. So we have a meet early December, and then we have a Catholic school meet that we invited a couple teams from North Carolina. Blessed Trinity was there. We had a team fly in from Austin. So those were kind of our two big meets that we really kind of targeted this year.
Yep, and then out of all the events, it looks like you guys placed first in 2 relays, the 200-yard medley and then the 200-yard freestyle. So who in our crowd right here was a part of that relay team?
The medley was me, Angel, and Abby.
And the free relay again was Angel and Abby, kind of here on the corners.
And then how have you guys just worked on those specific events this year? And is this a medley team that has worked together in the previous season, or is this has the 4 group kind of came together for the first time this year?
For the medley relay, we've had a pretty strong team for like at least the whole year, and we just really were very hyped up and like we knew what to do and we just wanted the gold. And for the 2 free relay, that was it was pretty new. We haven't swam in that order, but we each had good times individually, and we knew that we had a chance to win, and we wanted that.
And then what was the atmosphere like for you guys at the championship? I mean, how much fun was it, and did it kind of feel surreal once you guys were handed that trophy?
It's super awesome. Our positioning on decks, we're like right by the podium and the blocks, and we have such a big group that you can hear every single person like screaming for you because we're all just standing right there. And so I think that brings a lot of energy. We're definitely the loudest team there.
Mm-hmm.
And then
our team is very close this year, so I would say like you're just cheering for your best friends, you know, and like when you're cheering for people you like genuinely love, it makes it so much more exciting and rewarding.
And then, I mean, were any of you guys maybe surprised by how well you guys performed on that specific day? Did anyone have any personal best times, or how did you guys rate your overall performance in the championship meet?
We had a lot of new PRs and best times, and I think we were all just surprised at how well we could do and how much we've worked and how it's showing off in the pool.
And then
I don't think we've actually counted them all up. I know that we had season bests across the team, but like Angel said, and I know Allie as well, we had some personal bests, lifetime best times that people achieved at the meet as well.
Yeah, and certainly the point total was pretty incredible. Walk us through kind of what swimming looks like from here. Obviously, you guys are probably year-round athletes, always working on the craft, but what's next for you guys?
I'm next year going to be swimming at Boston College, so that's pretty exciting.
And what are you going to miss most about this group?
We're just so close. It's always really fun. I mean, even small dual meets we can make exciting, so I'm definitely going to miss it.
Yeah, I think we're trying to get Angel up at University of Chicago. Callan here in the middle is going to St. Mary's up in Indiana, up there by Notre Dame. Lauren back here in the back next to me is going to University of Miami. Aaron's still a little bit undecided, and Abby here right in front of me is a junior looking at Air Force. So all very high-achieving young ladies.
Absolutely. And then, Coach, I mean, what did you see from this group just in practice with their overall preparation throughout this year? I mean, how motivated were they, and what impressed you most just about their work ethic?
I think we were blessed this year and also a little bit cursed. They came in determined. Like I said, we had been runner-up the past 2 years. We had events where we qualified 15 and 16 girls where you can only swim 4. So I think that goes to show you their determination and their desire to contribute at any and all levels. I think that we saw that from the first meet of the season all the way through the season.
Absolutely. And then, Coach, what did you enjoy most just about watching them earn that title this week?
I think what I enjoyed the most was that last little dip in the pool that we all get to take together. It's kind of special, and for this group, they hadn't had a chance to do that yet. They watched as 8th graders, as the seniors 4 years ahead of them did it. But I think getting a chance to experience that and kind of relating that to their teammates to help kind of motivate them in the future.
And then you got that beautiful trophy in front of you now. Coach, are you guys going to have a ring ceremony coming up, or when are you going to pick that out?
Rings are always a challenge. I mean, it takes forever to get here. But, yeah, we need to kind of sit down soon and with a ring vendor and pick out what we're going to put on the ring. And hopefully we get the rings back before these girls are all leaving for college. so that they get a chance to show off to their schoolmates.
Certainly. Well, when that happens, please post a photo on social media. We want to see them. Congratulations, you guys. Great job. Best of luck at your future destinations, and great job.
Thank you so much.
You bet. All right. State champions, the Marist War Eagles, great overall effort. You mentioned they were in that same class with Lassiter. Lassiter was able to take the Class 5A this year. They won Class 4A, beating BT 566 to 319. A great team right there. All right, well, stay tuned. We've got one more segment. Back, we'll be joined by Northview's new head football coach. Welcome back to the Georgia High School Sports Daily. Right now, we will be joined by new Northview head coach Mario Drayton. Thank you so much for coming on the show. How's it going?
Hey, man, it's going well. Thank you for having me.
You bet. So it's a great opportunity to kind of get to know you, take a look at the Northview program. I believe that job opened up in November. That was Coach Schwarzer. And then did he stay at the campus and take the AD role? Is that correct?
Yes, he remained on to be the athletic director at the school.
Okay, so obviously he was part of probably the interview process, trying to figure out who the new head coach was going to be. When did this position kind of get on your radar, just leading into the official news on Friday?
Well, I guess I could tell you honestly. We met over at 7-on-7 at Mount Bethel this summer, and he kind of talked about it because I knew he had took the AD job, and he was always saying, they're not going to let me be AD and head coach. And so he was kind of telling me about it. Coach McCoy's on the staff was somebody that's always been trying to get me to come to that area anyway and things like that. And so it was one of those things like after the season, if you're still interested in the job, just apply. And so I told him I would be very interested. So I went on ahead and applied, and, everything just went from there.
Yeah, and then we talked to Coach Schwarzer over the years, and one of the things that, was such a primary focus for him at Northview was just getting the participation numbers up, getting the roster size over 60. It looks like he was able to do that. What are some of your kind of main objectives and goals to get this program back on track?
The biggest thing is we're going to go back to basics. Shout out to Coach Schwarzer for bringing me on. But one of the biggest things that we want to do, we're just going to really be basic. We're going to go back to being a very physical, hard-nosed football team. And one of my things that I told the principal when I got there is it's a very great academic school. And my question to him was, if it's great academically, then we should be able to match that greatness athletically. Because if the kids are working hard already in the classroom, then we should be able to turn that success in the classroom on the football field. So that was one of the biggest things for me when I took the job. I feel like we can just go ahead and turn that program around because we have a whole bunch of kids that already work hard in the classroom. They're working hard in the weight room, and I just want to be able to turn that success onto the athletic field as well.
And then we'll talk about your time at McNair in a second, but for people that don't know, walk us through kind of when you got into coaching, some of the stops you've had. I believe you've been maybe in Florida also, just some of the different schools you've been at before this.
My first football coaching job was Berrien County in Nashville, Georgia, under Coach Ross New. My last year under Coach Ryan Branch. After that, I probably I did go to Hamilton County High School with Coach Mike Pittman. Stayed there for around a while. Helped turn that program around. Wound up teaching in Hamilton County, Florida. Then I was at Valwood with Ashley Henderson, who's the coach right now at Jasper County High School, who's a good friend of mine. I had stops at Cook High School, Thomas County Central again with Coach Henderson. I was at Lowndes High School for a year, and then McNair, and now I'm a Northview Titan.
And then at McNair, obviously one of the big accomplishments as part of that turnaround, you guys snapped that 24-game losing streak this last year. You were able to return to the playoffs. I know that had to have been special, just seeing the success start to come back to McNair. What was that time like for you, and what was kind of the big takeaway or things that you learned?
It was the hardest job I've ever had, coaching football, but it was also the most rewarding because when I started that job that summer, I got there July, probably the second week of July was a Tuesday, and we only had 14 kids on that summer, so I got there late. A few weeks after that, we were already playing a game. We probably had about 19, 20 kids. And so, when I finally got into school, was able to, get to know some of the kids and things like that. And we got kids out, and we had a pretty decent year. That year we didn't win the games, but we were very competitive. And one of my greatest accomplishments here at McNair is my first year. We lost the game in overtime against Collegiate, and the kids were happy. I'm like, dang, why y'all happy? But they were happy because they were competing, because we hadn't competed here. We can talk about the losing streak, but just being able to compete is big for kids. And we were competing, and then, years went by after that, and we kind of started to figure it out. Salute to my coaches. I had one of the best coaching staff in the state of Georgia. It wasn't a big coaching staff, but we had a great coaching staff, and the kids were extremely loyal. And if you know this area, everybody's at your kids. I'm at the parents, bring my child to this school, that school. And so for these kids to stay with me and me to stay with them and be loyal to me and things like that and help me to get this program to this point was like probably the biggest thing that I've done in my career. And it was probably the hardest thing I've ever had to do, just to let them know that I was leaving. But they did understand. They were happy for me. And trust me, my young men, my boys, they understand, the game. And so that's the thing I'm most proud of at McNair High School.
And what was that like when you saw them kind of celebrate the overtime loss? Did you address that to them, or how was that conversation like?
Well, at the time, I only had 3 coaches, and so I didn't address it at the time because it's like, do you steal their joy away from them? I didn't want to do that. So, we didn't talk about it till the next week. With my coaches, though, we were looking at each other looking around like, they happy about that. And I had to put it in perspective. One of my defensive coordinator, he was like, you got to understand, remember, these kids haven't competed. We were watching film. They were getting beat 30-something-0 in the first quarter of almost every game. So for a lot of those kids to be able to be in a game like that, they was like, it's fun. It was fun to them and just having a chance and things like that. So it really skewed my perspective a lot. I think that day or after that night, that's what really kind of pushed me in the direction I needed to go, because I'm coming in, I've been at established programs, I've built better programs, but this program I knew was unique. It was extremely different. And so when we addressed it with them, I would go at the positive route, try to be as positive as I can with them and be like, man, I'm proud of y'all that you guys competed. Let's go continue to build on this. And that's pretty much what sparked, what happened here, just being able to just compete in an overtime game and losing. And having the chance to win, it really sparked a lot of the things, and it sparked the excitement within those kids, and that was big for us.
Right, and then at Northview, some of the coaches we talk to when they take over a program that they're trying to maybe rebuild, they have like a 2-year plan, 3-year plan. Maybe they're going to try to develop the young guys first. What are some of your ideas for building this program up in maybe the short term and long term?
We're going to develop it holistically. When I came in and interviewed, they were asking about our junior Titans program and how I'm going to work with that, and I want to be heavily involved with that. So we're going to build it from the ground up. We're not going to cut any corners. We're not going to do anything, to bring dishonor to the Northview brand and the name of the school. We're not going to do that. And so when I told them, and they told me, and the one thing that I like about Coach Swartz and the administration, they were very, very upfront. They was like, it's not even a 2 or 3 or 4 year thing, and I'm fine with that, But I'm working on a faster timeline. But realistically, we know that what the plan is, and I understand. And so we're going to build it from the ground up. We're going to take our time. The biggest thing for us is, like I told them, we want to come into the area. We want to establish ourselves, not in the state, because, we're not on that level yet. But my thing coming in is I want to be able to work and establish a presence just in the Johns Creek area, the Duluth area, with the schools in the area. And like I told them, we can't worry about state. We can't worry about the playoffs right now. But my thing is that we cannot even compete with the schools that are around the corner from us. Then there's really no point of even trying to do what we're trying to do. And so my thing is I want to be able to just compete with the schools down the street. I want to be able to compete with Johns Creek. I want to be able to compete with Duluth, who's right down the street, and Chattahoochee, and develop that. Just like I told our guys at McNair, we can't compete in DeKalb. There's no point of even trying to compete for the playoffs and things like that. And once we got that, and once we get that at Northview, and we want to try to be a dominant force in that Johns Creek, Northview area, once we get that, then we're going to go ahead and take steps to be able to compete on a different level.
Absolutely. Well, Coach Drayton, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate your time. Best of luck. Congratulations on the new job, and best of luck in 2025.
Yes, sir. Thank y'all for having me. Go Titans.
Go Titans. All right. So there goes Coach Drayton. Very excited to see what they're going to have building. But that does it for today's show. We'll be back tomorrow at noon. Go to scoreatl.com for more coverage.
Hey, is the power off on this?
I don't know. Just take it off. Safety violation, unsafe work conditions.
In the construction trades unions, safety is our highest priority, and we train you to recognize and speak out on unsafe working conditions so that everyone arrives and goes home safely. Learn about careers in construction at georgiaconstructioncareers.com.
Beginning the morning you opened your eyes, we spent every waking moment preparing you for the day you'd leave our nest. Whether it's driving to practice or helping with homework, it's all prepared you for, what am I going to be when I grow up? Will you be ready?
After much thought, I made my decision to take my talents to the IBEW Local 613.
The International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers is not simply a job, it's a career. Visit IBEW613.org to begin a new future today.